99 to 97. Luka Doncic put up 33 and 13 and 6. But it took him a lot of shots to get there. James Harden was the real deal in the first half. Then Paul George really aided the Clippers. And how about Zubac? 20 and 15, that 20, a career high for him. Kyrie Irving, 31. But again, the role players did not do what they needed to in this game one. And for more on the Clippers Mavericks, we bring in NBA insider Bill Ryder. And Bill, this is a game that going into it, I feel like, at least for me, the Mavs game to lose, because we knew Kawhi Leonard wasn't going to be in, and then all of a sudden, here comes James Harden looking like he's on the Rockets, and he beats Zubac, dominating down low, brother.
Yeah, this, by the way, I'm trying to be a pro here, but you made me laugh really hard on the Steve Ballmer part of your highlight, by the way, because Steve Ball, how do you not laugh at it?
I know.
Chris got me. You're right. This was a game. Look, it's a long series, and you and I were talking about this. We can get caught up in single games, but it's a best-of-7 series with really two outstanding teams that have a real path forward deep, at least to the conference finals. But you're right. This is Dallas's to steal. No Kawhi Leonard, significant. This is a Clippers team that had not played well down the stretch, significant. The Mavericks, on the other hand, have been outstanding. The best defense in the NBA once they inserted Daniel Gafford into that starting lineup back in early March, and then all of that just got erased in what was a dominating performance from a team that played team basketball, even without Kawhi. And some of those individual stars for the Mavericks struggled, particularly Luka Doncic. And here we are. It's just one game, but it feels like a missed opportunity for Dallas.
Absolutely. Now, when you look at the production that the Clippers got from all their guys, both on the starting lineup and in the bench, Russ had a double-digit game as well. Who impressed you the most, or who surprised you the most by the way they played in the playoffs?
All right, this is going to sound like I'm putting somebody down through praise, but it's not, because James Harden has had struggles in the postseason and the playoffs. It's just a reality. Now, he's got a new role. He's really the guy that's off the bench and a secondary star, and without Kawhi Leonard, he's got to take on more responsibility. And he's done that this year when one of those stars, Paul George, as well, have been out. But his ability in a big playoff game, or even though they're at home, again, that pressure of not having Kawhi, for him to just set the tone early for the Clippers, to facilitate for other guys, to make it easy for everybody, it's a significant boost when you don't have Kawhi Leonard, and it is a very nice moment for a player who's had a Hall of Fame career, will be a Hall of Famer. Other than that one stint way back in the day with the Thunder, hasn't made an NBA Finals. He's not the focal point now, but if he plays like this, maybe he's getting there again.
That is very true. It's a very possible thing to happen. Now, when we look at down low, I don't think anybody, or a lot of people, were expecting Ivica Zubac to handle P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford down low. Got a career high, 20 points, man. What did you see out of him that allowed him to be so explosive and productive down low?
It's really what I saw out of the Dallas Mavericks, and I just want to say that stat again, because when you have a top offense and a top defense, that balance is what you need to win series and to make deep runs. And the Mavericks were 17th in defensive rating over the course of the season, but they were, again, first going back the last 20 or so games. And Gafford was the focal point in that, but not the only one. And just felt like the Mavericks, I don't want to say desire, but their ability to play that kind of focused defense went away. And he's a guy that benefited hard. I mean, really everybody benefited, because you had role players and a multitude of guys getting easy shots, because that Mavericks defense regressed at the imperfect time, at least from their perspective.
And just one correction, it was a playoff career high, not a career high overall. But when you look at the Mavericks, right, or the Clippers, and if they are going to be without Kawhi Leonard, I know Ty Lue said that they expect him to have him back at some point during the playoffs, but how long do you think they can sustain this level of play? Because one of the key differences in this game, Bill, was the three-point shooting from not just their stars, but also the role players.
Yeah, and this is a Clippers team that was top 6 in three-point shooting over the course of this season, and the Mavs are worse than league average at defending that. So it might actually be a place where the Clippers can really make hay if they don't have Kawhi Leonard. And I don't have the slightest idea when Kawhi's coming back. I was just talking to folks in that Clippers organization. Chris, they haven't said this, but the impression I get, they're going to love this, but it's true. I don't think they know. I think it's a great big question mark. So I think the reality is, yes, it's a game that's disappointing. Yes, Luka Doncic didn't play well. Yes, the defense for the Mavs wasn't outstanding. And yes, this was a Clippers team that shot really, really well. It's hard for me to believe, though, over the course of 6 more games, if we get that far, that if there's no Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers will be able to win this series. Maybe they can. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have a situation where Paul George really steps up for most of those games. But you've got to have your superstar, because even though Dallas lost, it's a really good basketball team. They need him back, because I don't think they can withstand what the Mavericks have coming for an entire series if Kawhi's not out there for at least a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I know for sure Luka and Kyrie are going to shoot the ball much better when it comes to game 2, and probably those role players are going to step up. Is there any key key point, though, with the Mavericks and what you saw that they need to adjust in Game 2? Because some of it, Bill, was just the fact that they were missing open shots. But the other thing was I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of continuity on offense as well.
Let me plug a column that I wrote over at CBSSports.com that got me a lot of beautiful hatred and hate tweets from all of you. I'm sorry, X's, whatever they're called, in Mavericks land. I think the Mavericks are going to win the series, but there's an interesting reality that guys that have had superstars, the highest usage rates in single seasons in NBA history, which is a fancy term for basically the ball in their hands the most, have never made an NBA Finals. You're talking 2 Michael Jordan seasons when he had the ball the most in his hands, never made it past the first round. You're talking 3 MVPs when they had the ball historically in their hands a lot of the time, did not make it to a conference finals. In fact, the only time that Luka Doncic, who had the 20th highest usage rate in NBA history this season, has made out of the first round was with a guy named Jalen Brunson. We didn't really appreciate then. So talking to scouts and talking to folks in the lead up to that in this game, there is a belief, it's not universal, but there's a sense out there that Luka's just going to have to find a way to facilitate other guys being part of the offense, getting other guys involved, because that usage rate will wear you down over the course of a season. Your co-stars or even your role players aren't going to be muscle memoried to hit those shots and be used to having sort of step up when there are moments the way we saw from the Clippers. So the adjustment's probably not realistic, but it might be if you believe some of these scouts, and I think there's something to it. Just the idea that as great as Luka is, if you've got a superstar against a team, the team's usually going to beat you, because in the postseason, there's more time to prepare, there's more time to go to the tape, you can focus in on one guy. So Luka's ability to try and facilitate a little more offense for other guys to get them in rhythm, probably going to be helpful, but not what we've seen from him in his career.
Right, and that's something that he has to work on day in and day out if he wants his team to get to an NBA Finals. Now, right now, the favorites right now are the Clippers, minus 154. Are you sticking with them to win the series, Bill?
If I stick with the Mavs, I don't want to. I shouldn't have taken the Mavs. Mavs fans, you're so mad at me and you're being mad. Look, I've covered this sport long enough, and I know you have too, that you can't overreact to single games, and you can't overreact to what you see on an opening night. But it does feel like deja vu all over again. I'm going to stick with the Mavs just because by sheer principle, if I make a prediction, I'm not going to change it after game 1 or even game 2. But Chris, I don't feel great about it anymore because the Clippers played such good team basketball, which a lot of folks didn't expect given some of the turmoil that had been in that locker room, some of the comments from some of the guys, and really the way that they'd played. So if this continues, I think my prediction is going to go by the wayside, but I'm not changing it out of principle.
Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, because I saw Ashley talking about, your co-host, Ashley Nicole Moss, talking about, hey, can I change my pick?
Don't do it.
I had the Mavs say, no, we can't do that. You got to stand on business. And that is Bill Wright. That's what he does. He always comes correct and stands on his points. And here's a look at some other points, right? The stars with Kyrie and Luka for the Mavs, 64, 48% from the field, 39 from 3, 10 dimes. Rest of the team, though, 33 points, and here's where the key difference is. 28% from the field and 20% from three-point land. Also, not a whole lot of assists, but we know Kyrie and Luka do most of the playmaking.